From the studios of the Optimism Institute, welcome to the Blue Sky Podcast. I'm your host, Bill Burke, and in every Blue Sky episode, we'll be speaking to leaders, researchers, and thinkers whose stories and insights will remind us that there is always blue sky above. Sometimes you just have to get your head above the clouds to see it. This week's guest on Blue Sky is someone who's achieved high levels of success in business, in large part due to an emphasis on treating his employees with love and respect. He's done this while overcoming personal tragedies in his life that sent him, as he describes, into a deep abyss. Niren Chaudhary is a visionary leader, global CEO, innovator, and philanthropist. And I'll offer this heads up that his resume just might make you hungry. He served as chairman of the board and CEO of Panera Brands and Panera Bread. Before that, he served as chief operating officer and president of Krispy Kreme. After spending 2 decades at Yum Brands, serving in global leadership positions, including global president of KFC and president of Yum India. And you'll soon learn more about all the remarkable work he continues to do today. I hope you enjoy this Blue Sky conversation with Niren Chaudhary as much as I did. Niren Chaudhary, welcome to the Blue Sky Podcast.
Hey, Bill, great to see you.
I am so happy to have you on, and there's so much to cover in your very full life. Tell us about your upbringing. You were born in India, got your early education and higher education there. Can you talk about that and then how that segued into your business career?
Sure. So, yeah, born in India and spent most of my time in New Delhi. Fascinating country if you haven't been there. Bill, have you been there?
I still haven't been, so this is one more reason why I need to go.
Yeah, well, it's 1.4 billion people. And I think also quite impressively about 300 million gods.
That's a big number.
Over 30 different languages. And it's like the United States of Europe.
Right.
It's very diverse, very different, fascinating country. And I'm really proud to have to be an Indian and to have grown up there.
Sure.
So I grew up in Delhi, went to school there, college as well, finished my economics and MBA, and then started my journey by joining the House of Tatas. It's one of the leading corporate houses in India. Started off in the hotel division of the business.
Okay.
So I worked at the Intercon Hotel with them as a front office manager at the age of about 24, where I didn't know anything, and I was leading a group of people.
Yep.
Loved that. And then soon thereafter, I joined Yum Brands. Worked with Yum for about 24 odd years. And through Yum, I went outside the country. So I was in Europe for 10 years, then back in India for another 10 years, and then sort of permanently out. And I've been working across, lived in about 6 countries, worked across 50 countries. And I've had quite an adventure, I have to say.
To say the least. And frequent listeners of this show will be familiar with David Novak, who is the longtime CEO of Yum Brands. And he described, when I speak with him and what he's written about, as a culture of appreciation in the business environment. And from everything I've researched about you, you're a big believer in gratitude at work, and you really put people first. I'd love to hear you reflect on that. And now that you mentioned you started in the hotel business, I'm sure that sort of hospitality, treat people well, was taught to you at an early age?
Yeah, firstly, I think on David Novak, what an incredible leader and inspiration. He's a dear friend, he's a dear mentor, and easily the individual who's had the biggest impact on me.
Oh, interesting.
Personally and professionally. And I could talk about David for hours, but I can easily say that a lot of who I am and how I show up was shaped because I had the good fortune of having been mentored by David. But you're right. When I went into the hotel business and I stood inside this lobby of this 600-room hotel in New Delhi, I just was so inspired to be standing inside my product.
Huh.
And in the service, in the food retail business, I
Yeah.
think what is fascinating is that you're standing inside your product. You can actually see real time how consumers are interacting with the product, and how your product is totally a function of how good your employees are feeling.
Right.
And it is, and that is the variable component of a service business, is how your employees are feeling,
Yes.
right? If they're feeling good, if they feel loved, if they feel engaged, then they'll pass that on to consumers. And if in turn, then consumers get excited, then they come back, and that's how you create enterprise value. So that connection sort of was very inspiring for me. And therefore, I've stayed in the food retail business for this long because of that. And I think beyond that, Yum Brands was also, believed in this philosophy deeply, that it's all about people capability
Yes.
and culture.
Yes.
If you get people capability and culture right, then results will automatically follow. And I sort of, I have used it, I've embraced it, I've seen it at work, and therefore it's become a very core part of how I show up, where I deeply believe that success is not a function of superior strategy, it's a function of superior execution.
Hmm.
Strategy is to do with the head, execution is to do with the heart. Strategy is about what should I do, and execution is about I want to do this. And I think therefore an execution is much harder. So an execution to me is all about people,
Hmm.
inspiring people, connecting with people, creating the right culture so that people really want to go above and beyond where you what you want them to do, and that's how you get superior execution. So yes, my leadership style is extremely people focused, and my business philosophy is simple: that when I'm leading an organization, my most important job is to love and to take care of the employees who work at the enterprise. And if I do that and they feel engaged and they feel happy, then just transfer that on to consumers, who then get delighted and come back more frequently. And that's how you create a successful organization.
I'm so glad you've covered that, because I think that a lot of people, if your only view of business and business leaders, and I'll get to just how high you were in these organizations, you're very humble, but you had serious positions in these companies. They think, things like the customer comes first, or just driving people hard and working them to the bone. And I'm with you. I've always believed, the employee comes first. And if you take care of the employee, they'll take care of the customer. And especially, there's probably no place where it's more so than in a service business, and in a tough service business like casual fast food or fast food and those things. That's a tough business. And so a lot of people, I think, look at businesses as exploiting the people who work for them, but really the successful ones, I think, and the lasting ones really take care of their employees.
Yeah, I totally agree.
It made me hungry just doing this research, because you've been president of KFC Global, if I had that right, president of Yum India. So Yum, if people don't know, it's KFC, Taco Bell. Is Pizza Hut part of Yum? I think it
Yeah,
is.
yeah, that's right.
At one point, if maybe still the largest restaurant company in the world. And you
Yeah.
had major positions in this. You were also president and COO of Krispy Kreme, hot donuts now. I still remember the sign when I lived in Atlanta. And then CEO of Panera Bread. So these are big companies, name brands. And I'm curious to know, because we're gonna speak soon about your family, how you managed these global responsibilities. I'm sure there was a lot of travel, and yet you are still clearly a deeply committed person to your family. How did you manage to balance those things in your life and your career?
Well, firstly, I've been very fortunate to have worked at these kind of incredible brands, and like you said, you talk about them and you say, "Wow, this is like such a fun career." I mean,
Yeah.
think about it: Kentucky Fried Chicken, the best chicken in the world; Pizza Hut, Taco Bell, Krispy Kreme, the best donuts in the world; and then Panera Bread, an iconic brand. And then I also was part of Caribou Coffee and Einstein
Right.
Bagels.
Right.
So, firstly, I've been very fortunate, and I think my approach has always been that leadership is a privilege. It is indeed a privilege. And it's a privilege because we have this unique opportunity to be force multipliers for good,
Hmm.
meaning that not only do we create enterprise value, but we also have this unique opportunity to take care of our people, our community, our planet as we create enterprise value. And I would argue that if you have a broader impact business model, then your enterprise value creation can be much more sustainable
Hmm.
because you're taking care of people, community, and planet. And to execute against that, I've always believed that you need perhaps a new business model, which is the virtuous cycle of profit and purpose. That you do what you need to do as a leader to drive profit and maximize profit so that you can actually do purpose, but then purpose also should in turn drive profit.
Yes.
I deeply believe that you can do people, community, and planet impact activities only if they also are profit accretive,
Yes.
and they should not be random acts of charity. So then the task of a leader becomes, how can I actually take care of my enterprise and create enterprise value, but also create stakeholder value? And how do I do it in a fashion that is truly integrated? And that's the lens through which I have led across all of these organizations, irrespective of which geography I've been at. So there's that aspect of the privilege of leadership.
Hmm.
And then I think the how to unlock the privilege of leadership is actually how to be, and that's been a deeply reflective journey, is that how can I always be a trustworthy leader?
Hmm.
How can I always inspire trust? How
Yes.
can I show up as somebody who's truly in the mindset of being a service leader, there to actually serve the people who in turn are serving the customers? And I've really enjoyed that journey of continuous improvement and self-reflection, clarity of my values, ensuring that I have a consistent set of behaviors, a strong character. So that's the second aspect of it. And the third, probably the most fulfilling aspect of all, has been how can I unlock the individual and collective excellence in the people who work with me?
Hmm.
And how can I inspire them to go above and beyond? What we were
Yes.
talking about earlier. How do I sort of create the right culture? And how do I be a more effective mentor and a coach to the people that I work with so that they actually become the best versions of who they are and live fantastic lives?
I appreciated hearing Niren Chaudhary's reflections on working with and learning from David Novak. David was a guest on episode 7 of Blue Sky, and if you listen to that conversation, you'll understand why he's had similar positive effects on so many others. Niren says that he believes that leadership is a privilege and that the number one job of a leader is to love and take care of their employees. Particularly in service businesses, if your employees feel happy and supported, they will naturally treat customers well also. Now that we've learned more about Niren's career and business philosophy, getting back to our conversation, we'll hear more about his personal life and the tragedies he's had to overcome along the way. Let's turn to your family. If my research is right, you met your wife when you were 16 and she was 14. And I heard that you did everything you could to impress her, from learning how to sing and play music and martial arts. When did you wind up being a couple, and how young were you when you all got married?
That's true. I met her when I was 16. She was 14, and you're right. I looked at her, I fell in love with her instantly. She did not, and I went up to her and I said, "I'm going to marry you." She told me I was crazy, and then I went on to she was and continues to be my biggest sort of inspiration, and somebody I'm always trying to impress, but failing miserably.
Yes.
A lot of the things I started doing, playing the guitar, and doing well academically, or getting into martial arts, or playing sports, was all sort of to be noticed
Yes.
uh, and appreciated. But interesting to say that those tricks actually worked. And with women, one doesn't quite know what really lands. So I was going flat out on multiple fronts. um, we then got into a relationship pretty early on, which is pretty unusual in India. If you heard about the Indian culture, there are a lot of arranged marriages where
Yes.
parents actually picked the match for you. We were a bit unusual in that we were in love, and it was very visible to everybody around us that we were deeply moony eyed and in love. And then we got married fairly early. I was 24, she was 22 when we got married, and I just started my first job at the hotel business that I talked about. So, and we've been married now for about 38 years.
Amazing.
And
Congratulations.
she continues to be my closest friend.
And you two have been through the hardest of hardships. And if you're comfortable with it, I'd love to talk some more about that. And one of the many reasons I admire you is how you've somehow been able to come through these challenges with such a sense of optimism, and you found the silver linings, I think, if that's fair to describe. So, your first daughter passed away at 7 months, and later you lost a second daughter at the age of 18. I'm wondering if you can start by just saying how you and your wife got through these things, and then how they've impacted you in the many years since.
Yeah. Thank you for that question. It is true. We lost my first daughter when her name was Tanya, and she passed away when she was 7 months old. She had a congenital issue. I was just about 24, 25, just gotten
Ugh,
married.
ugh,
Uh, and I was, extremely young, both of us, and we saw grief very early on and didn't really know how to handle it, to be honest.
sure.
um, and it took completely sort of knocked both of us out and created a huge amount of stress in the relationship also that we had to work through. And then we had my son, who's fantastic. He's
Mhm.
32. He lives in New York, actually. His
Ah,
name is Ishan. Just got married a few years back. He's a full-time musician,
yes.
uh, band called Member, and his wife Emmy is also a fantastic life partner, also a musician. She has her own band called Evangelia. So both of them are performing all over the country and are very successful. And then I had my daughter Aisha, who developed a fibrotic lung and passed away when she was 18 years old. Recently. We're all of us as humans lose something or someone,
Hmm.
and I'm sure you've been through your journey.
Yes.
It's a very integral part of the human experience. I think what happened to me was perhaps rather extreme, but I'm not the only one in the world who's lost something or someone. And the pain is deeply intense and very similar. The process is very similar, irrespective of what the trigger is.
Yes.
So I think loss is common to us all. And loss is a very integral part of the human experience. And what I have learned that I would like to share with the listeners is that the way in which I have tried to deal with, which is quite different from how my wife has dealt with it, the way I've dealt with it is that first I got, absolutely knocked out,
Mm,
and I went into the depth and the well of despair,
sure.
and I kept going deeper and deeper into the abyss till there was nowhere further to go.
Yep.
And that was a almost like a process of catharsis.
Mm,
And I think feeling the despair and giving yourself time to grieve, I think is a very important process.
yes.
And it is non-linear. It is everything, everywhere, all at once,
Yep.
and it suddenly attacks you. And I think just kind of surrendering to it,
Yes.
I think, is an important start of the process. It's deeply, deeply painful,
Yep.
but one has to go through it. There is no shortcut out of it. You get to the other side by only walking through that fire, so to speak. And once you have done that and kind of grieved your loss, whatever that loss might be, I think the next step for me was acceptance, which was, let me accept, let me have the strength and the wisdom to accept what I cannot change, the
Yes.
serenity prayer that all of us know.
Yes.
And then I realized that even that was not enough. I was still feeling the pain. I was still feeling uh, that sharp intensity of the pain, both physically and emotionally and spiritually, inside me. And so I moved to the next stage, which was about forgiveness,
Mm,
that I needed to forgive myself. And I think all of us, when we lose, if you think about your respective losses, you will recognize the fact that we're very hard on ourselves and we invariably find our piece in it. How
Yes.
were we responsible for it?
Yep.
And I felt very deeply responsible for the loss of my two
Hmm.
daughters. I felt I had failed them as a father
Ugh.
because I didn't have the financial means to have looked after them in many other ways. So I had to consciously think about forgiving myself
Sure.
by saying to me, myself, every time those thoughts came up, I forgive you, and breathe into it and keep repeating, you did the best that you could. And that again takes a while. So
Hmm.
forgiveness is step three. So surrender, acceptance, forgiveness. And then the even that is not enough because I realized that you cannot give to others what you don't have.
Hmm.
And if you don't love yourself, you're incapable of loving others. And you can't sort of live without love.
Hmm.
And therefore the journey had to begin with, me starting to learn to love myself again because I had a lot of inwardly directed anger
Hmm.
at myself. So I had to learn to love myself. And what that meant was I said, I'm going to be this sort of penny dropped in my head that we're all going to die. It's like, okay, with Aisha, it was a bit too early, but it's the great equalizer.
Yes.
Everybody, you, me, all our
Yes.
listeners, we're all going to die. That's the eternal truth. Then I may as well have a ball. I may as well sort of celebrate life. I may as well enjoy myself and make every single day magical and make every single moment count.
When Niren was just 16, he told a 14-year-old girl that one day she would be his wife. Talk about an optimist. He was smitten and determined to win her over, and he did. They were young parents when they lost a 7-month-old daughter, and they grieved again many years later when 18-year-old Aisha passed away. Niren explains his view that losing something or someone is an integral part of the human experience. He gives great advice here, including the importance of taking time to grieve and the need to understand that there are no shortcuts in this process. Getting back to this blue sky conversation, we'll hear more about how Niren set out to pass through, not around, these hardships and shape a new outlook on his life in the process.
I said, okay, what is it that my little heart desires? Those dreams that I've had that I've always postponed and never quite sort of chased down. Maybe I need to just, give in to those for a bit. So my number one dream was to go to Harvard Business
Mm.
School.
Yes.
Such a nerdy dream. And so I took some time off and went to Harvard and did
Yeah.
a advanced management program out there. Then my second dream was I wanted to actually, I'm a musician. I had this dream of actually composing and releasing my songs on iTunes and Spotify with a group of outstanding musicians. So I hired a studio and I recorded, the top 7 or 8 of my songs that I had written and released them on iTunes and Spotify. Nobody
Yes.
listens to them. I still keep cranking out my songs, but at least I got it done. And I
Yes.
showed to myself that, hey, you matter, what you want matters, and I'm going to prioritize you.
Yep.
Not when I retire, not when I'm old, not when I'm dying, but right now,
Yep. Yep.
I'm going to prioritize you. And that to me is an expression of self love because that starts healing the wounds as embrace that self love. But even that is not enough. So you've surrendered, you've accepted, you've forgiven yourself, and you love yourself. But you need something to stand up for, you need something to walk towards. And I found that that has to be hope.
Yep.
You have to have something to get up for. And I think, and this is, of course, different for everybody depending on your
Sure.
stage in life. But what drew me and what draws me is the opportunity to serve and to serve those who may be less fortunate, and to lead with that mindset when I was a leader in an enterprise, or now lead with that mindset as I'm redefining myself, is how can I show up in ways to serve others who are less fortunate?
Hmm.
Because, true fulfillment lies in serving others. So I think that is what I learned, was that this process of grieving and loss can actually be transformational
Yeah.
if we give into it and not block it out. We give into it, we surrender, we accept, we forgive, we love ourselves, and then we find hope. And that's how we get up and we walk taller and we walk further.
Amazing. Just amazing. And I wonder, before we move off onto what you're more of the work you're doing now, Aisha packed an awful lot into her 18 years. And I wonder how much her example fuels you in terms of making the most of the years that you have, because I've seen her work on stage, and there are two films that we should talk about made about her and your family. She really did more in an 18-year life than so many would do in a foot. Is that part of what gets you up every day and keeps you motivated?
You're so right. Aisha, in her 18 years, achieved more than many of us do in a lifetime. And just for the listeners, I just want to brag about my daughter for a
Yes,
bit.
please.
Um, she was an inspirational speaker on TED Talks. She has two talks on YouTube, over 1 million hits. She's the author of a best-selling book on Amazon called My Little Epiphanies, a book that she wrote
Beautiful.
just a few months before she passed away. There's a movie inspired by her on Netflix that you referred to called The Sky is Pink, and also a documentary on Netflix inspired by her called Black Sunshine Baby. And I think all of this has happened because Aisha was remarkable, and she was remarkable because of her values,
Mm,
and which were the following. She basically, and to answer your question, she is my biggest inspiration and role model.
I bet.
Because when she was 13 years old, I mean, just think about this, Bill. She was 13 when we told her that you have only 5 years to live and you have a fibrotic lung. She wasn't even able to understand that.
No,
We needed to tell her because she needed to take a lot of precautions.
sure.
And of course, I left her with some hope and said, if there's any sort of cure anywhere in any part of the world, your dad will find it.
Mm,
Um, but even though she got this devastating news, attitude was, oh, at least I have 5 years to live,
yeah,
not why do I have 5 years to live.
right.
And she embraced those 5 years and she made every single day count, every moment magical. And her values were all about, courage, gratitude, and a sense of generosity. Courage was, let me focus on what I have control over and not on what's happening to me.
Yes.
And that's such a powerful mindset. And I embrace that and I try to live with that value in my head, that whenever I feel sort of um, lost or broken, I remind myself I can't fix what's around me. I can't change what's happening to me, but I can certainly change how I respond
Yes.
to what's happening to me. And that was courage. Her second attitude was about gratitude, that all of us are so busy living our lives, that we are consumed by what's not right. And if we, which is fine, but if we, even for a moment, for even 2 minutes, pause and say, what is right?
Yeah.
It can fill our heart with deep gratitude. And I think just taking a few moments every day and just being present and being grateful for this gift of life and this gift of the people in the world around us, for our health and for the many other things that we have that many other people do not have, is deeply healing. And what I've noticed, and I don't know if you practice gratitude, but I've
Do.
noticed the more you do it, the more you attract everyday miracles.
Yeah.
And I think if you look at life through the lens of gratitude, the world looks uh, much richer than it does in the absence of it. And she had the wisdom to know that. And then finally, the sense of generosity, where she wrote in a book that if you can't change your own life, there is always someone else's.
Yeah.
And that is that, that deep fulfillment lies with a sense of generosity. And as you heard me talk about my journey back from the abyss of my loss and hurt and failure, many of these themes resonate
Sure.
because I have embraced what Aisha believed in, and she has been such a huge influence in how I want to show up for the rest of my life.
That's amazing. And she said something in one of her talks that I'd never heard before and stopped me dead in my tracks. And talk about gratitude. This is gratitude for the very hardest of hardships. She said, "My soul would have no rainbow if my eyes had no tears."
Yeah,
That knocked me out of my chair. It's like really
yeah,
special.
yeah. That was phenomenal. I think she got that from somebody, I don't know who, and
Yes.
but her use of what she was inspired by in those words was so powerful that my soul would have no rainbow if my eyes had no tears. And then another one that she spoke about was enjoy life. There's plenty of time to be dead,
Yes. I heard that
right?
as well. Yeah.
I mean, isn't that true? I mean, we're all going to die, so we may as well just have a blast and enjoy life.
It's hard to imagine what it would be like to have to tell your 13-year-old daughter that she likely has just 5 more years to live. But in the limited time Aisha realized she had, she made a huge mark. It's her example and legacy that continue to inspire her father to this day. She said, "There's plenty of time to be dead, so we should all try to enjoy life." And it's fair to say that without losing his daughters, Niren might not have gone back to business school or recorded and released his own music. I checked his songs out online, by the way. Niren is indeed a man of many talents. And just when you think you've heard about all of them, as they used to say in the direct response TV ads, but wait, there's more. Last time I spoke with you, I couldn't even keep track of all the different things you're working on, books and speaking and
Yeah.
coaching. And so maybe prioritize sort of what are the things you are doing today to help other people and keep living such a fulfilling life?
Well, you sound exactly like my wife. My wife also says that she says I get exhausted just listening to you,
Yes.
you know, and which is quite true. So I think just so that the listeners can brace themselves for what I'm about to share, please know that this is just a universe of ideas, and
Yes.
I promise you, I'm going to focus and prioritize. But right now, I'm in the exploration phase and the exciting phase of ideation. So, as I transitioned out of my corporate life, um, I'm filled with gratitude, for the many experiences I've had and the people I've met, uh, and the opportunities that were offered to me. I'm deeply grateful. And certainly, I've gone much further than I ever thought was possible, given where I came from. So I'm deeply grateful for that. And therefore, I look ahead with a huge amount of um, inspiration, because I want to actually live a life of service that I spoke about. And my mission now is to help unlock human potential. Um, and I landed on this by actually identifying what was the one thing that I loved most about leading companies and teams of people and building cultures all across the world. It was this one singular dimension of being in a position to be able to unlock the potential in other people. I think there is no greater honor for a leader to show up as somebody who can help you become better,
Yeah.
right? And I find that incredibly inspiring. And I want to do that in one of four ways. And don't worry, I'll prioritize. Um, One is, how do I show up as an executive coach? It's fairly
Yes.
obvious in terms of serving that need, but I'm getting very inspired both in the learning of and the doing of coaching. And the learning of, because all of my life I've been a practitioner and more of a mentor, a person who had the answers or was expected to have the answers. And now I'm pivoting towards how can I be more of a coach who has the questions
Hmm.
but not the answers.
Hmm.
And I love that. I love that
Interesting.
process
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
actually learning that skill. So I'm learning, enjoying that, and then of course I'm very privileged to coaching some extraordinary leaders all over the world already, who I learn a lot from
I
and
bet.
I get energized and inspired by. So that's the first one. The second is academics. I'm just joining Harvard Business School and as an executive fellow this fall in the strategy unit.
Great.
And I'll be teaching strategy to the first year MBA students
Great.
and also being part of the faculty there, learning from them, contributing to them. And I am so excited by that
I bet.
because, I have tremendous respect for Harvard. Uh, and I feel that if I want to unlock human potential, I need to find a way to get in front of future leaders,
Yes.
and there can be no better way. So that's the second thing. The third is, um, I'm writing two books. Um, you laugh.
Yes.
And these two books, one of them is about resilience, and the other one is about leadership. And the reason to write these books, and I want to share this thought with the listeners. Somebody once told me that the measure of a life well lived is if you can inspire those you have not met.
Ooh. Yeah.
And I felt that the only way I can inspire people who I have not met
Yes.
is by capturing what I have learned and sharing that so people don't have to go through what I have gone through to learn what I have.
Yes. Right.
And
Right.
therefore, this desire for writing these books.
Right.
And then, so that's the third one. And the fourth one essentially is I'm on a few boards, but I'm working with a venture capital fund in India
Hmm.
and a private equity fund in India, and very drawn to that because it's my home country,
Sure.
and it gives me an opportunity to meet some incredible young entrepreneurs with billion-dollar ideas
Yes.
who do not have access to a mentor or
Yeah.
an investor.
Sure.
So, therefore, I think in summary, it is coaching, academic, book writing, and investing are the various ways in which I'm trying to serve my desire to unlock human potential. That wasn't a lot, was it, Bill? I mean, that was
I'm
pretty.
exhausted. No, you prioritize that very well. I'm just trying to figure out when you sleep, but that's your own business. There's so much there. I wonder. You said something about inspiring people that you haven't met, and then also helping them through issues that they haven't yet lived. And I would think too, and I don't know if it's included in your books, but it's certainly in how you live your life. As you said, grief is something that we all are going to experience. And what you described, I think it's always helpful in these extreme situations to realize, oh, I'm not the only one who feels this way. I'm not the only one for whom the grief comes out of left field when I least expect it, or I'm not the only one who goes in the deepest, darkest abyss. Is that part of what you also try to do? And not just with grief, but with all these issues. Oh, when you're a leader, it is lonely at the top, which I always tell people. That's a true, that's a true thing. There aren't a lot of people. You don't have any peers in the building when you're the CEO. Is that also how you think about sharing your wisdom?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, yeah, life experiences. I feel I'm still learning. So, but yes. So I'll give you a brief summary of the themes of the two books that I think will
Sure.
resonate with you. The first book is called Everything Changes, and it basically says who we are is not a function of what happens to us; it's how we respond to what happens to us, and how we respond is a function of how we speak to ourselves. If you think about it,
Yes.
the person that we speak to the most in our lives is ourselves.
Sure. Constantly.
And surprisingly enough, most of that conversation is negative.
Yeah.
When we are talking to ourselves.
Yeah.
So I unpack this inner world and inner conversation, and I talk a lot about resilience and the roadmap that I talked about. About surrender all the way to hope. So that's the first book. The second book is called The Tree of Life. Play on the words tree of life. Tree of
Yes.
life. Three things you need to do to live a life of legacy. Three sections of the book. First is self mastery,
Okay.
which is about purpose and character.
Yes.
Second section is about building trust, which is about intimacy and care. And the
Yes.
third section is about impact, which is about audacity
Mhm.
and resilience.
Yep.
And under these three sections, I'm essentially sharing tools and ways in which, and frameworks, and how the reader can actually pursue self mastery or build trust to drive impact. And that is the essence of what I'm trying to put together um, in those two books.
I will ask, how do you manage all this? How do you, people, you read a lot about the CEO's morning routine and things like that. Are you write in the morning, stay up late at night? Are you writing two books, one with each hand? I mean, how do you get this all done?
Well, I think one is I really believe that all of us as humans always find time for things that give us joy.
Hmm.
If you think about it, we
Yes.
fill our day with things that we love doing.
Yes.
So I think it is just a function of defining what it is that we love doing.
Yep.
And then that just as you do it, it actually fuels you
Yes.
and doesn't exhaust you.
Right.
And it inspires you, it builds you, it gives you energy. It's kind of, it's kind of your fuel. And I feel much the same way. And I feel that like all these things in some ways are connected as well, and one kind of feeds into the other. So think about this. um, and I have, of course, this I don't know what this technique is called, but I have these blocks of time in my day
Yes.
uh, that I block, and I do one of these four things that I talked about. So for example, I have a ritual of writing for about 2 hours every day.
Yes.
I sit on my sofa, my happy place. I have a coffee by my side. I have one dog on my head, one dog on my lap. And then I open up my laptop. I look up at the watch. I put my head down and I just write for 2 hours.
Amazing.
And after 2 hours is done, I shut the laptop. I feel sort of fulfilled,
Yep.
and then I put that away. Similarly, I have, a 1 hour workout routine every day that I've committed to at a certain time that I go down for, irrespective of what's happening. I have my coaching routine for a couple of hours every day that I'm doing. Then I have my board work. So I basically
Yes.
divide the day into chunks and do that. So that is one way, one practical way of doing it. But then I think the circularity of what you do, and if it gives you energy, then it's not sort of exhausting. So when I'm writing, I'm getting clarity.
Yes.
When I'm teaching, I'm learning.
Hmm.
And then when I'm coaching, I'm becoming more self-aware. So that's the virtuous loop. And then for me to have the context, I have the business world. So when I'm in the boardroom or with private equities or venture, I'm actually thinking about enterprise value and what's happening and challenges. So that keeps me current with the context whilst I sort of drive this flywheel of continuous learning. So it's kind of connected.
There are some more great takeaways from Niren here. I love his assertion that there is no greater honor than to help someone become better, and that it's also his goal to try to inspire people he hasn't met. His book in progress, The Three of Life, will be one of his attempts to do just this. And now, back to the final segment of my Blue Sky conversation with Niren Chaudhary. It sounds to me, Niren, if I'm just the way you present yourself and the way you are and the way you just described your days, you're not like the average American spending 4+ hours on social media, or when you write for 2 hours, you don't write for 10 minutes and then check Instagram and check CNN.com. You practice, I forget who the author is, wrote a book called Deep Work. You in those blocks, you are in that zone, you are focused. And as you said, you get energy from things that give you joy. I think you also get drained energy from these distractions. And it seems to me you might be an expert at avoiding the distractions that bring so many of us down.
Yeah, I think, yeah, that's true. When I'm able to sort of, when I have a block time, then, like I'm fairly disciplined about this is it and nothing else. But then that is not to say that, like where I can multitask, I do and I love it. So for example, when I'm in the gym,
Yeah.
I'm doing stuff, I'm listening to podcasts, I'm
Yep.
listening to audiobooks. But my filter is that I will only consume stuff that enriches me.
Right.
It's like, the diet that we keep,
Yes.
that we eat healthy food
Yes.
to protect our bodies. We want to exercise. So therefore, I want to only ingest stuff through which I'm learning, I'm getting inspired, and it's kind of making me better, and it's not just wasted stuff. Of course, periodically, my wife and I enjoy watching a good series on Netflix and stuff.
Sure.
But I'm sort of, it's a big filter for me. Like, okay, my choice of podcasts or books is driven a lot by, is this going to be accretive to me? Will I really learn something? Will I really add value to what I'm trying to do? And be very focused, with that particular pursuit.
Amazing. Well, I know that people listening to you, what they take in from this conversation will be accretive to them. And I am really inspired by you, and I really appreciate everything you shared with us today.
Let me give you two last things before we
Please.
sign off. And it is about these things about rituals that you talked about and the power of rituals. And I'm a big believer that what you do every day kind of defines who you can actually become.
Sure.
And the micro habits actually strengthen your ability to navigate tough times. And these micro habits, if they can be ingrained in your daily habits, then you're preparing for the future.
Sure.
Much like you train to run the marathon. So to train to run the marathon, you have your regimen and you're training every day. So there are two things I want to share with
Yes.
the listeners that might help us run the marathon of life and to be prepared for all kinds of challenges. And these two master habits, one is curiosity, and the other one is resilience.
Yes.
And curiosity as a habit to nurture and to exercise the curiosity muscle every day is to have basically have the determination to pick up something that you love that you find difficult to learn.
Yes.
So, for example, it could be music, it could be an instrument, it could be a language, it could be something about AI, it could be about technology, it could be anything that you're interested in,
Yes.
but you find a little intimidating.
Yes.
So you get into that, go into Coursera, go wherever you want to go, sign up for something and
Yeah.
show up for 20 minutes every day and try and learn, because learning actually is a very good habit, how to learn
No doubt.
and the discipline of learning. So that's one.
Yes.
The second is resilience. And the micro habit on resilience on a daily basis is, once you have decided these time blocks and you said, I'm going to do it, then even when you don't feel like doing it is being resilient.
Yep.
Because you've promised to yourself that if I'm going to do this, then it is going to happen. So, for example, let's say that you've decided that for an hour every day you're going to go for a run or go to the gym, and it's raining outside and you're tired and you want to have a good meal and you're saying, to hell with this, I want to watch a nice Netflix show, etc. That's when you're being tested, and you go put on your running shoes and your raincoat and your AirPods and you step out.
Yep.
And I promise you this, when you come back, you will be a stronger person. And I think it is in those little moments of choices that we make, of doing it anyways, doing it even when we don't feel like doing it,
Yep.
strengthening
Yep.
Resilience. So I would say those two habits, curiosity and resilience, are very powerful.
Amen to all of that. So thank you again so much, Niren. Be well, and I really appreciate your time.
Thanks, Bill. Great talking to you.
Take care. I really like how Niren narrowed to two, the list of key attributes we should try to maintain as we run the marathon of life: curiosity and resilience. And when I think back on past guests on this show, I believe every single one of them has clearly exhibited both of these traits. And the author of Deep Work is Cal Newport, by the way, and it's worth checking out his book if you haven't already. It seems that this ability to achieve this type of focus is something that has served Niren very well. I hope you enjoyed this Blue Sky conversation with Niren Chaudhary. Before you go, please leave us a rating and review. These help us keep making our shows better and also makes it easier for others to find us. While you're at it, you might want to subscribe to Blue Sky wherever you get your podcasts. Sign up for the Blue Sky Weekend newsletter at theoptimisminstitute.com and follow us on social media. This and all Blue Sky episodes are made possible by the incredible editing and mixing done by the team at Sound On, Sound Off. You can learn more about their work at soundonsoundoff.com. And all graphic design and cover art for Blue Sky and the Optimism Institute are provided by Crush Graphics. That's Crush with a K if you'd like to check out more of their fantastic work at crushgraphics.com. Until next time, I'm the founder of the Optimism Institute and host of Blue Sky, Bill Burke, and I thank you for listening.